2008. Good, good. Okay. 2008, I was still psychologically in a very good position, consistent with my past. Okay? I'm fully aware of the social sciences, of course, abnormal psychology, about to a master's level. I understand that when there's a basis, that's the utmost importance. Always the healthiest context, or is it? Okay. 2008. Let me give you a feel here. Now, this is a rough draft. I have all the files that I've kept consistent with these time periods. I don't have them accessible, organized. They are able to be organized, but it's going to take the time to do it, and I question at this point how much time I have remaining. Okay? Let me share with you, in 2008 is when I really came down to understanding its EQ. That's the first time. Okay? It was right around 2009, within a year or so. Okay? Spoke to human resource consultants. I did it, I was seeking professional services. I was doing everything I possibly could to hold on to what's been consistent throughout my life. Okay? Things were about to begin changing about that point. Okay? I didn't know anything about an incorporated different norm. Let me share this, okay? I wouldn't believe what I'm saying. I've heard about these things, predatory medical, immunity. There was never a factor of immunity from age 7 up to 42. Never. Unheard of. Falsifying medical records, psychological malpractice. I wouldn't believe what I'm saying there. I don't believe that. I would never believe if a disorder does not exist, create it, and of the most serious nature. I'm going to review this further as I continue to do this rough draft. In 2008, I was psychologically in a fantastic spot. Okay? A little late there to make that match. I take the career too seriously with that kind of experience. Okay? I still didn't know anything about special interest to that exactly, and I'd have to go back and find out whether, what I shared with you when I was told that at the highest level of health, I have no idea whether or not at this point what I just disclosed in quite a bit of foresight, all of that was up to present day, okay, which is 2007. I don't know if that was told to me at the highest level of health, whether it was 2008, 9, 10. I don't know at this point. I'm able to get the specific date. What I do know is I continued, I'd say an average of every 3 months, contacting Jim Harris III. I may have exaggerated, really it was 40 hours, a couple of reviews ago, back in 2006. Maybe it wasn't quite that long, but each time I spoke to him, every 3 months, okay, I've got all of that, all of those, everything, those files during these time periods from 2004. They're not accessible at the moment, but they are available. Okay. He spent a good half an hour to an hour on the phone with me each time. Hold on just for a second here, the telephone. Okay. And each time, I have it documented specifically what the maneuver was. I knew that it was a completely different context towards the intended purpose, a very reasonable request. Something tells me he was actually documenting disorders. I went back. Okay. Let me explain it. I need to do a rough draft. I'm very, very limited. I got a week, I would say, to work with her. Okay? And I'm going to need to utilize this time as wisely as I can. I'm going to be at present day very soon. I wouldn't believe I'm saying a different incorporated norm. I'm about to build on curiosity. I don't even know it. I don't think I'm supposed to know it. Powerful stuff. I was operating consistent in nature from age 7 to when I left Lake County, Illinois. Of everything that's been true about my background. And instead, I have to honestly say, I still didn't know it. I would say it was about 2010, and I'm documenting 2008. I learned about EQ, did a lot of research on that, I would say in 2009. I don't know the exact date that I went back and sought a PhD in vocational psychology. Okay? It was back to the human studies professor. I'm sorry. Psychological malpractice. That is a top governor employee. Right up by the governor. He's high up. Very high up. He is the one. I understand that's called psycho. None of this is medical in any manner, and that's all it is. It doesn't matter whether or not it exists. Created. I cannot even believe that I'm describing that. But I'll guarantee you, you look at Bill Pryor, and I have no understanding. I have to be delegated out to understand, actually, that's what it's relative to. Okay? All I could do is be honest to the guy and say, I'm seeking a PhD in vocational psychology. That is as reasonable as it gets. What in the world is this guy in a position like that? Yank it, a human studies professor? None of it's medical. I didn't know yet. Every bit of it is. Doesn't matter whether that exists. This came a little later. I say in 2010. I did a blog in 2010 on Google Blogs. It's under Richard Moss, Google. I would say that's when it really sank in. 2008, I was psychologically in a very good position. There's unheard of. Now, I'll be fully accountable for the basis of what's true about me. When there's other parties involved, the basis is what matters, not maneuvers, always the truth. And I understand I have no history of disorders, nor even personality issues. None. At this point, I'm not sure its exact date. Again, they'll spend the funds for medical only. It's predatory. I didn't know that. Created? If it doesn't exist, I wouldn't believe it. You make the decision. Okay? It was quite a bit later in present day when I actually understood. So there's social science, people who can really look at me of what I'm documenting here right now. I can only do this in rough form. I'm certainly familiar with disorganization, and in fact, believe me, that I would take very seriously. But what about it to incorporate it as a norm in society? And that's going to be the basis of a decision I'm going to have to make here in about a week. I know I'm a member, who I stated in the introduction. Okay? I'm keeping it relatively close to the time range. In 2008, I need to retrieve these files. I'm going purely by recollection, but basically I was a PhD in vocational psychology. God only knows how I could get in a situation like this. That to me, unheard of. I called the College Lake County just within 3 months ago, and head on. My perception is that I take very seriously. Very seriously, the perception that I have, that if I ever head on, my perception is very accurate. So I need to really look at as far as, I mean, it's the norm out there. I've never been a person that's had an issue of adjustment to a norm, or is it a different kind of norm? You see, I understand I'm very interesting. I'm very analytical when necessary. Okay? And I will conclude this in present-day form very soon. Just touching upon certain aspects. I understand psychologically I'm a healthy person. And yet what I'm experiencing here is so foreign to me, unheard of. I'm aware very much what obsessions and compulsions are. A delusion? Are you kidding? An assumption? An assumption takes a whole lifetime to validate. You're getting to know me very well, and thank you. Thank you very much. I know I'm skipping around a little bit. I don't have the files to retrieve on the exact date. I do know it was back to Pam J. Mobley, a human studies professor. They did a bunch of MRIs. I'm taking a guess. Man, I would never, I mean, really, delusion? Falsifying medical records? I wouldn't believe what I'm saying. You wouldn't believe it either, would you? I'll leave it up to you. I was seeking over and over again. When something doesn't resolve, you continue to strive for that goal. At a certain point you accept it. Okay? The basis is what matters. What I've stated to you is I take this most serious in nature. Something that's true for over 40 years, and an almighty, very powerful special interest. I wouldn't even believe I'm saying what I'm saying. Completely incorporated as a norm to create it, if it doesn't exist, I wouldn't even believe that. That makes me look at myself very carefully. Abnormal psychology. Oh. I continued to attempt to take that experience 1986 through 2001 unsuccessfully. Okay? I sought the counsel. I did the research. Did everything in my... Where is the perfectly healthy economy with the expertise or experience that you need? I don't know anything about politicizing aspects of society, and nor should I be someone where that becomes relative. It's success. And it is success. You must have experience or expertise. At this point, let me disclose here. How much more time do I have? At this point, I'm going to skip into 2009, 2010, 11, and 12. Yes, I've always been most interesting. The beliefs, I learned them. Most important aspect, good, solid, healthy business practices. You know, as I've learned much more about EQ, it's vitally important. It is the most significant challenges. I'll take the wise counsel that I've included in those reviews of, I believe it's 1988 and the 1990 through 2000. That's up here on YouTube. Unless I rearrange these files. Okay, that's what I'm relying on. That's all I know. The highest level of honesty, integrity, and the healthiest context. Completely foreign. And eventually, okay? Thank you very much. I'm ready to continue on with sharing the basis of the experience that I believe, according to the files that I've kept, you know, they're not available at the moment. I'm going purely on recollection. That again, I made another attempt for the most reasonable possible request from the highest level of expertise. That's pretty reasonable. Unless you have an ulterior motive as a basis. And continue to submit that resume. It was about that time in 2009 and 2010. I'm going to include these two specific dates relative to what I believe is somebody stalking me. Okay, I'm going to include the time period of 2009 through 2010 if it takes that long. It's the most rough draft. Okay? It is unheard of to be under somebody else's control with an ulterior motive or what you're led to believe compared to, I know all about that kind of stuff. I won't have anything to do with it unless it surpasses a blind area. I have been very, very fortunate to only experience the highest level of honesty, integrity, the healthiest context. That basis has been fully validated. No history of disorders. And what I'm aware of, I don't have a history of any personality disorders. It's never been a factor. And if it was, you'd go for an LCSW for some individual counseling. Okay? Thank you for letting me share this. I'm getting ready now to go on 2009, and I've shared what's included, foresight, and a little bit of hindsight too. This has been one of the most significant challenges, and particularly what's going to be present day, that I have ever faced. It never should have happened. You run this by anyone in the social science, and let me ask you where those disorders are. I'm willing to be fully transparent. I don't even question. It would come back clean on me. Those parties that are responsible for their actions, I would never sue anyone. Or would I, if I've been severely injured? It's something I wouldn't want to have anything to do with. Ever. Not that type of person. I wouldn't sue anybody. By now, there's a limited amount of time, and what's true about my background is slipping away. Hasn't yet, and it hasn't in 2009, and it should never have. 2010. There's no reason for anything like this to occur. Okay, good. You got to feel sure, of course. Just the videos that you have is plenty sufficient for anyone to look at these rough drafts. Now it's going to take some time, and I'm going to say I've made my mind up. I am going to disclose that present day very soon. I have to be, I don't want to jump on a defense mechanism. No. You face up to it head on. You pick up the pieces and move forward. It happened. I learned something I've never wanted to know anything about, or especially experience. You pick up the pieces and you continue to grow indefinitely. We are very fortunate, and it's going to stay in that proper context, regardless of how radical. I've never deviated from the norm. Boundaries being crossed, I know those boundaries very, very well. Very well. I'm human. There's imperfection. I guarantee you that truth is going to come out here. Now, I am going in quite a bit of, you know exactly what I'm referring to, because you got all of this. I'm sorry I'm continuing to emphasize it, go back to referral points. It's a very rough draft, but I believe if this were to be presented, and I clearly state this is not a medical issue, and that's all it is, I wouldn't believe I'm saying what I'm saying there. That's not going to happen for about 4 or 5 years. About boundaries, most serious forms of violations I know of. I know that when there's a situation that you come to a resolution or you accept it, you grow in the healthiest context. That's all I know. It is nothing to fool around with defense mechanisms, nor as a band-aid. I disclosed my background, and you see it right there in 1977, and I clearly, and I'm very healthy. Sure, some people go on for decades. I mean, I don't touch a drop of anything. My conscience to me, very important. Fortunately, that's who I interacted with. Where I come from age 7 through 40. I've heard about things that weren't even, there was no truth. I can't comprehend where there's no truth. Unheard of. You're getting to know me very well. As a rough draft, I thank you. I really do. You're getting to know me much, much better. You understand what's going to be relative to present day. And it's been the most significant challenge I've faced in my lifetime. I want the truth, and only the truth. The basis and full accountability, and I'll be fully responsible for me, and I expect those to be responsible for their actions or their basis. I didn't know about this yet. Psychologically, I was in a very good position all of 2008, 9, and by 2010, I have all the files to refer back to 100% recollection. I'm just going by what I can recall. It's a high recollection, though. Thank you. Thank you very much for letting me be who I am. And I want the truth to come out. That's the healthiest context I know of. I'll be fully accountable for me and who's responsible for their actions. I have no interest in any matter legal. I'm that type of person. But you wouldn't be foolish though, would you? There's some snakes I understand out there who necessarily they don't follow laws and what's the difference between right and wrong. I don't know anything about politics. I know nothing about special interest at this point until I already disclosed that in the last video. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. I'm going to be at the mercy, I have a feeling, of what is right and wrong very soon. Thank you.